Hey everybody, it's your girl Delilah Fitness, and today we are going to check in. So basically today's topic is, now I'm on Instagram and I'm on Facebook. So if you see me going back and forth, I'm on both channels. So I wanted to talk about, a lot of people have asked me, how do I get my lean muscle mass, especially at 54 and being a female and not eating any flesh. So one of the ways, and the main ways that I get it, is through discipline. A lot of you that have been following me on my journey as far as being a person who consumes only fruits, vegetables, seeds, and nuts, the main thing that I had to do was change my mindset and my relationship with food. Again, a lot of you who do follow me know that I grew up in the Boogie Down Bronx. Peace up to the Bronx. From a single parent. My mother had 6 of us. I'm the oldest of 6, and it was a single parent, so my father was definitely an absentee. He was not around. We grew up eating a lot of processed food, so canned food. So for those of you who know about Spam, any type of canned food, macaroni and cheese, I mean, the list goes on and on. I had processed anything that came out of a can and came out of a box. That's what we grew up on, no frills. And since my family is Caribbean, we basically did the no frills thing. So if you see the box that says no frills back in the days at the A&P, when you were shopping in no frills aisle with the cornflakes and everything, I definitely remember Spam. I remember us getting the block cheese because my family was on public assistance. We never really had any fruits and vegetables. And if we did have fruits and vegetables, it came out of the peaches out of a can. And we had the frozen carrots and broccoli, frozen broccoli, frozen. And what started happening for me is that I started developing issues with my weight and also with my energy level, and also a lot of, my brother had asthma. We had issues again with just the food that we ate was not conducive to our thought process. Being in school, I do remember being considered slow and ADD. So a lot of that play into the food that you consume definitely creates your thoughts. So also, with that being said, growing up, I grew up in the church. My family, I come from a family of ministers. So when I was younger and we used to go to the church, I used to wonder, why was everybody so morbidly obese at the church? Now, a lot of you know, either if you're Baptist or Pentecostal, we do a lot of hooting and hollering in the church, and we praise the Lord, and we are very, very much into the church. At least my family was. I remember days when we would have a typical breakfast when I was growing up was cornflakes, or we would have fried Spam. And back in the days, they gave us this government block cheese, like the cheese, the surplus cheese. They would give us the big cheese, and you had to slice it and basically make grilled cheese out of it. I ate a lot of white bread. Everything was processed. Everything was processed. So I did not have a clue of what fruits and vegetables really was in its natural state, because I ate everything and, what my mom gave me. So she, being a single parent and having 6 children, and just constantly stressed and frustrated, and basically going face to face to public assistance and in relationship issues, trying to find love. So when the situation was with my mom, when she was in a great relationship, we ate, but when she was depressed, we would actually have to fend for ourselves. I remember eating cookies for dinner, or having, thank God for the free lunch program, because I remember going to free lunch and having the cities. For those of you who don't know what free lunch is, it's the city in the summertime gives you breakfast and lunch. So you have to get there and get your breakfast and lunch so you could actually have something to eat, because a lot of us that lived in ghetto areas did not have access, to certain foods. And also, we lived in a food desert where there wasn't that many fruits and vegetables that anybody was selling. A lot of the stores just sold processed food, so we didn't have access to certain things, which is very, very interesting. So I grew up not knowing anything about nutrition. I grew up not understanding nutrition, nor did I understand health. I was just on a day-to-day grind of just struggling and surviving, and really focusing on, as a woman, making sure that when I get to school that I'm not being raped or like pulled to the side and being abused, and just really fending for my life. So a lot of you who grew up in that type of environment will understand what I'm saying. I mean, this is not something that was my fault. It was something that I was just born into, but it didn't define me. I always knew that there had to be more than this reality. So my mom had us go to Fresh Air Fund. Now, for those of you who don't know what Fresh Air Fund is, if you grew up in the inner cities and you were on public assistance, they had this thing called the Fresh Air Fund where they would take inner city black children and they would ship us upstate. So when I got shipped upstate for 2 weeks with a German family, they were Lutheran. I didn't, me growing up in a black community, we stayed in church for like hours. We had Sunday school, then we went right to the service, and we had to get dressed up for church. With the Lutheran, with white folks upstate, I was shocked. And when I went to Fresh Air Fund the first time, I was about 14 years old. So I was like, wow, you don't have to get dressed up for church, because I was seeing white folks wear jeans to church. Now, black people, we got to get decked out. We can't be going just wearing no jeans to church, because that's disrespectful to the Lord. So when I went to Fresh Air Fund and this family had me just wear some jeans and a t-shirt, and we spent 1 hour in church, I was shocked. And then the bowl to collect the money went around one time. And I was like, wow, I want to be Lutheran, I want to be like this, because I was not sitting in church for hours. So I was like, wow. I told them, and then when I hooked up with the Fresh Air Fund, they had fruits and vegetables, so they had a farm. So that's the first time, I got to be honest with you, that I have put my hands in the dirt to pull out a carrot, was in Fresh Air Fund, dealing with the Kuchenbeckers. And I know my sister always says, oh, you talk about the Kuchenbeckers, but that was big for me, to put my hands in dirt and to pull out a carrot. And then I started to understand the food, because when you're in the States, when I was growing up, Halloween, we would take eggs and we would throw eggs at each other, and we didn't understand where food really came from. I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't know anything about growing food. I didn't know anything, nor did I have respect for food. All I was focused was on, when I was a kid, McDonald's, like I was eating burgers and fries. Like burgers and fries was big for me. Burgers and fries, pizza, ice cream, Chinese food. That was my reality when I was a child. I was eating a lot of processed and fast food. I did not eat a salad. And when I did eat a salad, it was iceberg lettuce. So I had issues with my health. My thought process as far as cognitive and obtaining information in school, I definitely was not thinking properly, because the food that I put in my body was so processed that and then I was hyper, because I was eating a lot of candy bars, a lot of chocolate candy bars, like Snickers, Kisses, candy, chocolate candy bar, potato chips, Sundew. I was drinking a lot of like Pepsi, Coca-Cola. So if you look at my childhood, it was definitely unhealthy. Also, with that being said, I was chubby. I was a little heavy on the heavy side, because I didn't exercise. So between eating processed food, growing up in an environment with a mother who had me at 14, my mother was a teenager, and I didn't know who my dad was. So we basically, it was a free-for-all. It was like my mother being a child raising another child. She didn't have an understanding of motherhood. She just was winging it, and I was winging it with her. So I totally understand anybody who says veganism is not for them, because when I was growing up, I didn't even know what a vegan was. You know what I mean? It was not part of my reality. For one to live off of just fruits and not have like a burger and fries or something of substance heavy like mac and cheese, collard greens, I needed something heavy. So I didn't grow up, nor did I meet any vegans when I was a kid. And like I told you, the Kuchenbeckers was the only people that introduced me to fruits and vegetables. So with that being said, how did I get to this point of really embracing fruits and vegetables? Between the Kuchenbeckers introducing me to fruits and vegetables and greens and growing food, I wanted to actually move in with the Kuchenbeck because I wanted to leave my mother and I wanted to go upstate and stay with them, because I felt when I first picked that carrot out the ground that this was for me. I felt like I was connected. For some reason, something just shifted in me. Like maybe it was in my DNA, my ancestral, like as far as my energy. I just felt so good when I ate that carrot that came out the ground. And then I started to respect nature, because I was like, wow, it didn't just come from a supermarket. You know what I mean? That's why I really think it's important that children go and do something in the garden or learn how to grow food, so they have an understanding and a respect for what goes into their body and when and what goes into the earth. Because a lot of times when you don't understand, you take things for granted. You know what I mean? Like you just kind of just like on Halloween we would just throw eggs at each other and throw tomatoes on the floor because we didn't respect it. If it was a burger or something like that, or some, fried chicken or, something like that, we respected meat. So it was very challenging for me to, at this particular point, to transform, which means that I had to remove myself from my environment. And a lot of times, I got to be honest with you, when I started hanging with the Kuchenbeckers in the summer, every summer from 12 on, I started hanging with them. Folks, my people, black people would say, oh, were you trying to be white? Oh, were you trying to be white because you hanging around those white folks? Oh, you eating this kind of food? You think you too good? This and that. So it was weird, because then when I started to educate myself on eating properly, my people were saying I was trying to be white. And the bottom line, what offended me, what hurts the most, is that when I was trying to share this information with my peeps in my neighborhood growing up in the Boogie Down Bronx, folks was like, yo, F you. We not trying to get down with that. You know what I'm saying? You trying to be white. And we don't understand as Africans, because we are so distant from our original homeland, that we used to grow things all the time. You know what I mean? And that's what hurt the most, is that I lost friends because people were like not trying to understand that. They wasn't trying to really feel that. So yeah, it was difficult. But I kept pushing on, because I knew for me, my body started feeling better. I started getting more energy. And I just started feeling like this, for me, in my spirit, it resonated within me. It was the right thing to do for me. So as I proceeded, I went to college, and then as I went to college, I started bumping into people who were so-called vegan, which was interesting. I was like, wow, so you could actually live off just fruits and vegetables, but I didn't know how. Because for me, if it didn't have rice and beans, now understanding I come from a Caribbean background. So with Caribbean background, we gotta have rice and beans. Gotta have rice and beans, So when I became vegan, I was vegetarian first. Now, with vegetarian, I got to say I was on my heaviest, because with vegetarian, and it was expensive. So I understand when a lot of you guys say, oh, well, being vegetarian is so expensive because I have to go to the health food store and you buy the fried fake burgers, you buy the fake chicken, you buy the fake cheese, you buy the fake ice cream. So everything is fake. And I understand when people say, well, I can't really rock with vegan because, I can't afford it. The health food store is like, what, $10 for a burger with 4 patties in it? Yo, you are so on point, because I couldn't afford that either. And when I was vegetarian, I was eating a lot of processed food, and I was getting bigger. I was getting heavier and fatter. Because if you think about it, being a vegetarian, I was not eating a lot of fruits and vegetables. I was eating a lot of processed food, which was fake meat. Now, also understanding, if I'm trying to be vegetarian, I don't understand, and maybe somebody can help me with this. I don't understand, if you're trying to be vegetarian, and my people are going to be mad, how you want to eat fake beef and fake chicken and fake oxtail, that you taking something processed and formulated it into something that you say you don't want to eat. You say you don't want to eat beef and chicken and all that, but you faking the funk to still eat that food. And also, a lot of the processed stuff, the fake burgers, come from the meat packing district. Like, they know beef is not selling, so a lot of the people who own the beef industries are going into fake meat. So you're still supporting that industry that basically is killing animals. So I actually, being my heaviest, being a vegetarian, I had pushed, and my frame is like, I'm 5'1", so I was actually about 155, close to 100, like 155, and I'm short, because right now I'm only 105. So I was carrying an extra 50 pounds of weight from being vegetarian. So vegetarian, and I was breaking out. It didn't work for me because if you look at the packages at the health food store, the vegetarian stuff, it's stuff that you can't even pronounce. And if I can't pronounce it, I'm not going to put it in my body. So I definitely, for me, did not really enjoy being vegetarian. Didn't. I was more of a starchitarian because I didn't eat a lot of fruits and vegetables at this point. I went back to just eating processed fake food, which put a lot of strain on me on a cellular level, because a lot of the stuff that's in the box is chemicals, and my body couldn't break it down, so it stored in my fat cells and became toxic. You know what I mean? So I was getting sicker when I was vegetarian because I was storing a lot of toxic stuff from chemicals in my adipose tissue. So that wasn't good. So I realized that then I started getting fibroids. Stuff started building up into me, and my lymphatic system was having issues with my lymphatic system. So I was, to me, I'm only speaking for me, I was sicker when I was vegetarian. It's not until I met somebody who did not eat any cooked food at all. And a lot of times being vegetarian, people have a tendency to say, well, I'm vegetarian and I eat fish, or I'm vegan and I drink milk. Now, for me, if I'm vegan, I don't drink anything that comes from an animal. I don't eat honey, anything that comes from a bee, anything that comes from an animal or anything that is animal. I don't eat. So for me, I only eat fruits, vegetables, seeds, nuts, and herbs, uncooked, unprocessed. So with that, the thing about being vegetarian, and I love my vegetarian, and I think and I understand, because people are going to say, well, at least we're not killing and we're not eating animals. I understand that you're not eating animals, but you have to really follow the rabbit hole, go deep into the rabbit hole. Who's producing those vegetarian or those vegetarian burgers that you're eating? They even have a burger that bleeds, like a vegan burger that bleeds, and I gotta say, I'm a little confused with that, because I don't know how a burger that's vegetable can bleed, and I don't really want no blood energy in my cipher. So when I started changing my understanding of food and consuming more fruits and vegetables, I actually, as far as, how much fruits and vegetables can you eat in one time? I actually, at 54, a lot of times I don't eat as much as I used to, because my metabolism, I'm an older woman, so, and I'm going through menopause. So my body is not going to need as much food as somebody in their 20s and 30s, because they're at the stage of reproduction, and they're at the stage of where their body needs more calories. So for me, at 54, I don't need that much to sustain my life energy. So what I tend to do is eat when I'm hungry. I don't eat just to be eating. I used to do the thing where I eat every 6 meals every day, like every 3 hours. But for me, at 50 something, I only eat when my body is hungry and when I feel hungry. So, and the good thing about eating food that has a lot of fiber and nutrients in it, as opposed to eating more for calories and for taste, when you eat more for calories and for taste, you're going to basically consume more. With the nutrients that's in raw food, like when you're eating raw food, it has more nutrients, so you can sustain longer. You know what I mean? And so, because your body's getting the nutrients. A lot of times when people are hungry, their body is hungry for nutrients, but you keep filling it up with calories. You'll notice somebody who is overweight, and they'll keep eating because their body is not getting the nutrients. It's going to keep eating until it gets the nutrients it needs. The body cannot produce 9 essential nutrients that the body needs on a daily basis. And if you're not getting it, the body's going to keep saying it's hungry until it gets what it needs to sustain its life force. So for me, eating fruits and vegetables, even if you're even cooking it and it's not processed, it's better than eating food out of a box that has chemicals in it and fry pats and burgers and stuff like that. So for me, I had to learn about food coming in from the hood, and you know how we do in the hood, and We eat whatever's cheap. You know, at McDonald's we get the 99-cent meal, and we'll consume on that. So I had to have a different and look at relationship with food differently, because I was addicted to sugar, fat, when I was a child, is eating a lot of processed food, and I was and also, with that being said, I was also dealing with my environment, and there was liquor stores and churches and stuff like that. And women was constantly being, let's be real, abuse in a household. And also I grew up where sisters not valuing themselves was selling themselves on the street, and that was my surroundings. So my future was looking real bleak. So I know I talk about the Fresh Year Fund, and I talk about, it's not so much about white folks. It's about what I received, what I got for me, as far as me learning how to connect to the earth. No matter what vehicle it came in or who showed it to me, I'm grateful that I had an opportunity with the Fresh Year Fund, I'm going to say it, for me to even get my hands in the dirt to learn how to eat or understand food. I didn't have no understanding of food. I was ignorant. So then I started doing my research. So I just want to say, don't be concerned about what other people think about you, because we live in a society where it's more about profit over human beings. And what I had to do was learn how to love myself, and that was the hardest thing to do. And loving myself also means the food I put into my body. Now, how I developed this body was my thoughts. Once I started having a different relationship with food, my thoughts started changing, and my body started changing. Because when I started to love myself, I started to put love in my body. So that was really hard for me as a solarized black woman who's always being attacked at every angle of hating myself, and being constantly attacked on the media, television, being told that I'm not going to amount to nothing when I grow up. I'm not anything. My mother's nothing. I'm nothing. And I come from a descendant of slaves. And the best thing that happened to us was that we came to America as slaves. And to be honest with you, those are all lies, because we had a civilization way before we became. They stole us. So when you start to believe these lies, you start to treat yourself any kind of way, because you're eating it in your thoughts. Because your thoughts is food too. The food that you put in your head is the food that you put in your stomach. So you start to make these choices, picking food based on how you feel about yourself. So when I started educating and loving myself, and started to really say, you know what, I'm more than what people say I am, and I started to do some research on my history and who I am as an African descent woman, my reality started changing, and my definition of just dealing with myself and dealing with other people, I started to love myself, because I started to understand who I really am. So food is not just the stuff that goes into your mouth. It's the food that goes into your thought process first. Because we all have a tendency to measure ourselves according to other people's standards. We all do that, and we shouldn't, and that's what used to bother me, is me measuring myself according to other people's standards that didn't look like me. You know what I mean? And for me to get this education, I was, when I wanted to investigate on how to be vegetarian and basically how to eat properly, a lot of the classes that I went to I was surrounded by people who didn't even look like me. So sometimes I was the only black person in the room. But you know what? I had to look past. I had to look past the situation, look past me being the only black person, and just receive this information so I could share with my community. That's why it's important for us who know better to do better and to share it, because a lot of us out here need help. You know what I mean? So it's a journey. It's not so much, because a lot of people are gonna ask me about recipes. You don't know how many times people ask me about recipes, but when you get the recipes, it's like been there, done that. But you haven't changed your mind. If I give you the recipe, you'll use it for a couple of days, maybe a year, and then you'll trash it and go back to your old ways. Unless you start to change in here, free your mind and your ass will follow. So once you start to free your mind and you start to see who you are, how you walk and move in life, and how you choose, and how people see you, because you're manifesting a different vibration. People will see you according to how you see yourself first, and then you will start to pick foods that radiate, that manifest you. So as a woman of color, and coming here as stolen people, we didn't bring our food. We did not bring the food that we need. You know, we said we were just fed like the slop off the table, the leftovers. That's why soul food. That's why I have an issue with so-called soul food, because that's slop food. We just jazzed up some ham hocks and some chitlins, and for some of us to be eating slave food, that comes with a mentality. So a lot of times when us as a people trying to get together, even to lose weight, now I'm a fitness person, to lose weight, if you still eating slave food and you wonder why you can't get your situation together mentally, physically, and spiritually, that's because you still eating chitlins. You don't have to do that no more. You don't have to you don't have to eat that slave food no more, because you're free. But when I do see people eating stuff like that, it just gives me an indication that they still not free. They still not free. You know, sometimes with slavery, you some people just scared to get out of master's house. You know, master, we sick. You know, they too scared. They too scared. And when you're scared, you do crazy stuff. So food is not just what goes into your mouth. It's what goes into your brain. It's what goes, like, for me, I had to change my environment to free up my mind. Sometimes I had to even get away from people who looked like me, that was trying to hold me down and was trying to tell me that I was crazy. That, you know what, no, you need to get with this program. People are always trying to sell you stuff. And a lot of times when we don't know who we are, and you see somebody who's evolving, that's that new energy, new thoughts, people get intimidated. Oh, I didn't read this in the Bible. Now, you guys know I come from a Bible Belt family. I don't even do the Christian thing. Because at the end of the day, that book was written by people who didn't look like me. They took bits and pieces of the story from Kemet. They took bits and pieces, like, you know, Cyrus and Iris. They took our story and made it Jesus Christ. So it's a Jedi mind trick. And for me, knowledge is power. So when you know yourself, nobody can knock you off your box. So for me, as a solarized woman, I embrace my culture. I'm not embarrassed of my broad lips and my nose. I'm not embarrassed. And also, with that being said, people always focus on losing weight. How did you get your body like that? Focus on your head. Focus on getting your head right. If you get your head right, everything else will fall into place. But for right now, if you still eating slave food and you having slave conversation and you have low self-esteem and you putting a wig, now I got to tell you, and you putting a wig on your head, and you covering up your natties, your natural natties, because you trying to perm your hair blonde and you got all kind of stuff, that's self-hate. So you're never going to lose that weight, because you're holding on to weight because you hate yourself. And the bottom line is, if you don't see the beauty in you, you are going to constantly be holding on to that in your subconscious mind. So in order to lose the weight, if we're going to be superficial about our physical form, let's go there. Because for me, it's not hard for me to drop weight, but that's not my main focus. My main focus is to be healthy and be the best woman that I can be. And I represent my ancestors, so it's bigger than me. I stand on the shoulders of many people who died to get me to this point. So all I can say is love yourself. Love yourself. Start loving yourself, and start feeling and start realizing who you are. Once you realize who you are, everything else will fall into place. It's really simple. A lot of times we try to make things really more difficult than it really is, and it don't have to be that way. It took me years. I'm 54. It took me 50 years to love myself, and I'm hoping. And why I'm doing this, I'm not doing this for likes. I don't. You know, yo. Let's be real from the ghetto, my girl. You could love it or hate it. That ain't gonna break me. I'm not looking for likes. Press the like button. I could give 2 rabbits ears. But for all my sisters out there, or even somebody 20 or a teenager that say, you know what, I don't know who I am. I don't resonate with the makeup. I don't resonate with the booty shaking and being a hoe or anything. This is for you. This is for you. This is for somebody who wants to love themselves. And when you love yourself, the weight will fall off. You come back to your natural state, because love is who you are. And just loving your solarized skin, loving your beautiful flat nose, loving your beautiful big lips. And the weird thing about it is that everybody's trying to be us but us. Everybody's trying to sing my blues, but ain't nobody trying to live my blues. And when you walk around with self-hate, you're going to keep that weight on. You're going to keep that weight on because you're carrying something that's not yours. Once you learn to let go and grow And I know it sounds esoteric and it sounds like, yo, this is talking some mumbo jumbo. I'm not feeling this. That's how I lost the weight. It wasn't how many push-ups I could do and if I could go on a diet. It wasn't a diet. It's a lifestyle. Loving yourself is a lifestyle. So I'm never going to leave this journey. This journey's never going to leave me because it's who I am, and I'm not going nowhere. I'm in for the long haul. So for those of you who are on a journey of loving yourself, that's my tribe. That's my tribe. Even if my tribe is just 2 people, I'm cool with it. You know what I'm saying? It's not a popularity contest because this is not something that's popular. Because everybody wants to be something that they're not. And when you are being authentically who you are, that's when people cut you off. Because they're like, yo, I'm not feeling that. It's not popular. Everybody wants to be popular. So how I got this lean muscle mass and how I got this body was loving myself, was taking time with myself to be in nature, eating natural food, having real intense breakdowns to get through and to love myself, let go of old programs that no longer serve me, stop hanging around people that's negative or just saying stuff that don't resonate within me. Leave them alone. Leave them alone. Leave them alone. Sometimes you got to be by yourself. Define yourself. So until next time, guys, no recipes. It's not about recipe. If anything, if you are listening to me, I just gave you a gym bigger than what's going in your mouth. It's what's going in your mind. Spend some time investing in what's going in here so this will change. Free your mind and your ass will follow. Until next time, guys, peace. I love you guys. Love yourself. Spend some time loving yourself.